Good evening, everybody. It has been a wonderful day, a very, very exciting day to me. This was from the morning, from the panel, the workshops, they were just incredibly well attended, and it has been a fantastic event. And it is like this every year, and I really want to thank everyone for organizing this great event. I would like first to introduce myself. I'm Mekbib Gemeda, and I am from Eastern Virginia Medical School, where I'm the Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion. And last year when I came here, I actually came from another institution because I just moved to Eastern Virginia Medical School this year. Last year I was at New York University, the School of Medicine, where I was for the past 8 years. And there was a discussion this morning at the panel as to how you choose schools, right? And it's very interesting that it relates as well to how you choose workplaces, right? You know, so people also move from one medical school to another. And just to describe a contrast for you between the NYU School of Medicine and Eastern Virginia Medical School, you have NYU, which is a big institution, which has a university as well as a medical school. A very old institution, about 130-year-old institution, with huge research operations, thousands of employees, with a big hospital as well as, you know, the affiliated hospitals like Bellevue and the VA. And in contrast to NYU, you have Eastern Virginia Medical School, which is a smaller place in Norfolk, Virginia, right by Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads. A younger institution, so it was actually, and very unique in many ways, because it was established in 1973, but it was established by the community. The community actually raised the funds because it saw the need for a medical school to be established there. So with a mission to actually advance community care. So the mission is really to be the most community-oriented medical school. So you have, you know, these contrasts, and as you look for schools, those are some of the things that you'll be looking at, you know, because there are great attributes for the various schools that we have, new and old. And you have opportunities to look at those things and see where you fit, because that is a very important aspect of how you're going to perform and how you're going to flourish. And that is very important as well in relation to our topic, which is telling your story, right? Because your story is about where you come from, where you have been, where you're, and where you're going. You know, so what your preferences are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your unique attributes are. So it is very important to know that in order to see your fit, and in order to actually be able to communicate that to the schools, to the admissions committees that will be waiting for your statements. So I will start with a story. So I will tell you a statement that I read a while ago from a student that I thought was really had an impact on me. And I had the privilege afterwards to interview the student and really to prove that the statement was truly, you know, a unique and genuine statement from this student. So the student starts with an anecdote, and she tells her story. It starts in South America, where she has joined an NGO after graduation, and she was working in a village in South America with women and children. She tells about this event where she really felt helpless, that she couldn't help the women because she didn't have the necessary skills to help them. And so that was her turning point. So she decides to come back and do a post-bac and do her complete her requirements, and that's how I got to the statement. She applied and she came to the program. In the statement, she recounts her whole journey. She starts with that, but she recounts her whole journey, how she actually remembered that she was good in science in high school, but when she completed high school, she went to bigger university. And when she arrived there, it really didn't work for her, the university. She didn't like the students, she didn't like the courses, something was missing for her. So she dropped out, right? She dropped out and went back home and helped her mother and siblings. She had brothers and sisters, small ones. Her mother had to work, so she helped her mother for a year. Now, when you think about talking about dropping out, that's not really a nice thing to say in a statement, right? Because that, that is failure, right? But she was genuine. She was reflecting. She was thinking about her journey and what happened. And she talks about her year with her mother and her siblings as the most important year for her, actually. It really formed her. She really appreciated her seeing her mother close for a year with her siblings. She learned quite a lot from her. And she tells her story that after that, she went back to college. She found what she wanted to do. She majored in women's studies and poverty. And that's how she ended up in South America working for an NGO. And she found out there, while she was there, that there was something that was lacking in her that she wanted to fulfill, something that she had left in high school, which is, like caring and doing medicine. So there is, you have this story, and as you read it, and it actually happened as I was interviewing her, you see this student in front of you who is really not trying to sell anything. She's trying to be genuinely to tell you what her unique journey has been and how purposeful in a way it has been. And so you have this strong statement that is well put together. Now, everyone has a story, and there's a purpose to that statement, right? What is the purpose? The purpose of the statement, the personal statement, is to tell your story beyond the other things that we know about you, meaning, the GPA, the MCAT, the list of research and experiences that you have. Who are you? What is motivating you to become a physician? The two most important questions that you need to address in a statement are why do you want to be a physician, and how do you know that you want to be a physician? That's the first one. And the second one is what do you think would make you a great physician? So those are the two things that you need to address in your statement. You can describe your journey, as Jessica did. You can demonstrate your humanity. It allows you to share your unique experiences. And what most students do not really see is that it allows the committee to see how you think and how you write. Now, why is that important? It's important because in medical school and as a physician, reflecting and writing are important aspects. I mean, if you cannot take your own history properly and communicate it, how would you be able to take history of a patient down the road? So those are, very important things that the committee would look at. Now, where do you find your story? You find your story in your childhood, in your family, in your academic experience and research and service experience, and with people who you have met in the past and who have impacted you, and events that have impacted you. Now, the process to develop a theme and a narrative structure. It is a narrative structure. You build it around a turning point or a challenge that you overcame, or your discovery of yourself. And most importantly, the significance of the events that you encountered. Now, it is very important, and this is the thing that I try to tell students. It's a process of reflection, so it can be a process of research as well. So it is important that you contact people that you have known, teachers, family members, others that you have connected with, and ask them what they think of you. Why you might be a good physician. And that input can be actually a very good basis for you to discover some things that you might not have even thought of for your statement. And very importantly, you should be sharing the draft of your statement to the people with the people that know you, so that you can get input and really make your statement as genuine as you can be. So the devices you can use can be anecdotes. You can build your narrative around your experience. You can map your journey from where you come to where you're going. Now, when you look at Jessica, in that statement, first of all, you think you know her. And you can even imagine where she's going. You can imagine where she's going to practice. She almost has, purposefully built a whole trajectory for herself. In the end, it's a sales speech, though. I told you she wasn't selling anything, but the personal statement in the end, you're trying to sell yourself. You want to get in that school. And you want people to look at your qualities, at your attributes, and say, we do want you. This is your place. So it is a sales pitch. And very important, you should express yourself like physicians. And that is, with clarity and with observation and reflection. So those are, the things that you want to emphasize. So it is very important that that you're unique and personal. It is a singular opportunity for you, besides the interview, to let us know who you are. So that's very, very important. And to excite us and to convince us. I mean, those are important aspects of the statement. What you want to avoid on the other side are cliches and generalizations, and that is, unfortunately, exists very much in the personal statements that we see, where there is a general cliche going around that we find ourselves unable to get away from, because sometimes it almost looks like as if it's plagiarized, but it's almost something we have adopted, and we can't get away from the dramatic moments that we want to describe that made the turn in our lives to be physicians. And so you need to be very conscious of those traps of cliches and generalizations. And really, and the way to avoid it is to seek for your unique experience. Because when you do seek and reflect on your unique experience, there's no way that you can be trapped with the cliches. Honesty is an important aspect of what your statement should reveal about yourself. You should be honest both to yourself and to the audience, and you should be courageous to share your weakness. So, but the fact is that you have to share your weakness from the perspective of strength. That is the trick, so that you're not justifying failure, but you're talking about the lessons that you received from your failure. And so those are some of the things that you want to see. And it shows that you're resilient. Humility is one aspect of being showing compassion in a way as a physician, and being generous. So because we're not, we tend to say we did this, we achieved this, we got to this point, but it's very important to acknowledge the impact that others have made in your lives. And that is how Jessica actually talks about her mother, for example. That's the same way that she could talk about the women, actually, she was serving in South America. It changes the picture of how you communicate with people, and how through that communication you are actually moving forward and achieving your goals. So people and events that influence you are an important part of the statement. And when you're the most important thing to take note of is when you're writing your statement, try to avoid thinking of writing it to the admissions committee. Think of writing it to yourself or to a friend, because it changes the perspective of how you approach your writing. And you should interview family, and that is the way it brings it back to you as well. It makes you genuine if you are interviewing family and friends, confirming the thoughts you have about yourself and what others think of you, and sharing a draft so that you get input from others. Again, there are weaknesses and gaps that you might want to address in the other part of your application, including grades or failures along the way. There is nothing wrong with that, and it might be actually very important, and that the personal statement provides you that opportunity to address that failure. But you must address it from the perspective of what lessons you learned from it. So it shouldn't be a place where you justify the things that you didn't do well, but rather emphasize the lessons that you learned from it. Handling hardships. Again, you might have had hardships along the way: financial, familial, social. And all those hardships are not important by themselves, but how you handled them, what lessons you got from them. So those are very, very important material for your statement to show, who you are, how you handle hardship, how you handle challenges, how you work with people to handle your challenges, how do people influence you, and what impact you have on others. A very good strategy also as you're writing your statement is to think of 2 or 3 attributes or qualities that you want the committee to know about you. Those are very, very, very good things to think about. It really strategizes your writing. And you want to look at what things there are are not in the application, in the other part of your application, that you must include in the personal statement. So if there is an important element that is missing from the other part of your applications that you need to address in your personal statement, you should address it. You should think of that. Clarity is a very important aspect of a good personal statement. And I don't know if you have read this book, The Elements of Style by Strunk and White. It is a tiny book, about 80 years old now. But it's very, very instructive, and it has great guidelines for writing. And it really helps you write active statements to shorten your statements, to be direct. And those are the qualities that you'd like to see in your statement. You must know who your audience is, and generally, your statement is going to be read by physicians in the admissions committee that are generally, they might be older and they might be conservative. So it is very good to think of what themes you want to entertain or how you want to entertain them. So that is a very good thing to think of, who your audience is as you're approaching your statement. And using slangs is obviously might not be a good idea. So what we discussed so far was the primary personal statement. In addition to the primary personal statement, there are secondaries, right? That each school sends to you. Those are more specific. They have questions. Generally that deal about the school. For example, a question might be, why would you want to join EVMS or NYU? And you'll have to explain in very short 3 or 4 sentences. But they have other questions that deal with ethics and other issues that would challenge you a bit. So you need to be ready for that. One thing about secondaries that I would like to note is that you need to submit your secondaries as soon as possible. I don't think you should have them more than a week, because that affects whether you're going to get an interview or when you're going to get it. So it's very, I advise you to submit your secondaries quickly. So final thoughts, answer the central questions, the 2 central questions again, which are, why do you want to be a physician? Or how do you think that you want to be a physician? And what makes you think that you're going to be a good physician? So those are things that you want to see that you have answered with your statement. Do not make lists, or do not make the personal statement a summary of the other part of your application. Make it a unique statement that talks about you personally and your unique attributes. See if it has a beginning, middle, and end, and ask if it truly conveys you. And that is that would be valuable if you ask other people to read it and ask them, does this really look like me, right? Does it convey me? So those are some things that you would like to address. And in recap, your statement needs to be clear, humble, unique, succinct, exciting, and convincing. Those are the things that we want to see in a statement. And this is my contact information. I would be very happy to respond to you and work with you on your statements and on your thoughts on statements. Any questions? Comments? Yes? It's very, very short. It's about 5,000 characters. So, and that's more why it's more important to really edit down and to be clear about what you want to do and to work on it over a long time. Yes. No, it's free. You are free to choose how you write your essay. It just depends what element that you want to emphasize and how you want to format it. It is, yes. General cliches are very, very simply, to make it really, really simple. I want to be a doctor because I care about people. I mean, you see those kind of statements, and it doesn't make it unique. It's a cliche in general. Some other cliches are using major events that as a turning point. You know, it has to be, for example, I witnessed an accident, and therefore when I witnessed an accident, I decided to become a doctor at that point. Those are, you know, a lot, and it might be true, that might be the case. But what happens is you see it repeatedly, and it makes it, you know, almost a cliche, and that it may have been used by different people at different times. Yes. If it makes you, if it's short, and if it helps make a point, it's fine. You know, I have seen people using different forms of, different literary forms to get where they want to go. What you want to start with is with a genuine exposition of what you want to write, and then, you know, you can add any forms that you want to in it. And I have seen people have used it in different ways, the statement, so you can use it. You have to be careful though about not, you know, about not to be too literary, because this is about you. That's the most important thing about the statement, is how are you getting through to us? Yes. The, the secondaries? Some of the secondaries, some schools have them online. You can get them from the admissions offices. Some others prefer that you have the time limit to actually complete them, because they're not supposed to be the long essays that you work on, but rather, you know, some things that you can work on very briefly. And that's why the expectation of the turnaround time is, you know, very little. The average number of applications is from 11 to 13. That's generally what's the average number. Yes.
For someone who had maybe a low GPA several years ago in school, and then had a complete turnaround in grades, how proportionally should they provide their personal statement as to, you know, what was going on in the past and how their grades changed?
Yeah, as I mentioned, in terms of, you know, addressing gaps, that might be the best place to address those things. It might be the personal statement, and it doesn't have to dwell on it. That's the, you know, the important part is, you know, like to address it in a way where, you know, you address that fact, but you talk about it in the context of everything that is happening in your life. Right? You know, like the strength that you want to show, the lessons that you learned, where you are in all the various aspects of your journey towards the profession. It does.
So like how do you like explain it? Like what is the different what are the different challenges that you went through? Do you just like explain every single like event you like what happened?
No, it shouldn't be a list. But I think the most important thing to think about is the statement is supposed to address major things, not small things. You actually have that in the secondaries usually. Yeah. You know, if there is, again, the issue is if there is a major event that you need to address that is very meaningful, that has been meaningful to you, because the most important thing is not what grade you got, right? But the events around it. Now, if the events are, very important, then, those might be things to talk about, and that might be a central theme that you can develop around them. Yeah. Yes.
Would you or would you not recommend put on your personal statement if you were interested in specific specialty, whether it be in the future?
Specialty, no. I don't think that's necessary. And in general, people want to see that you're open enough to explore various specialties before selecting. But general areas of practice, it's fine, because you might be having a statement that talks about that. For example, if Jessica's interest in the end is related to where that event started, and she wants to do global health, or wants to work in underserved areas, and she mentions that in her statement, that's fine. But she doesn't have to say, oh, she wants to be a surgeon or a pediatrician, not necessarily, right? So, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah. It's it's very important to balance that, because the other side of it might be then, why are you interested in the MD side of the program? No, you can talk about your interest in research, but then you have to balance it on your interest in caring. But that is, that's the balance. And so because they would like to see that you are interested in providing care, because you will be doing that in medical school. Any other questions, comments? Yes. That's right. Yeah. It has to relate to you, and it has to convey who you are and what your journey is and where you're going. And if it's not that, then it doesn't work as a personal statement. Questions? No questions? All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.